Alright, for this one you're gonna need again your slab, your needle tool, your wooden tool, your slip, and some extra clay. When we sculpt the nose, we're gonna start out with a very similar technique we used when we were sculpting the mouth. Start out by lightly tracing a line down the middle of your slab with your needle tool. Don't dig all the way in, just, lightly draw on top. You're gonna draw one line nearly on the top of your slab and almost on, I would say that's a bit too low. Kind of the bottom third of your slab. All right. First things first, depending on the size of your slab or the size of the nose that you want to make, you're going to take some extra clay and roll out a sphere. Mine's roughly the size of like a gumball, kind of. And I'm gonna place that right on the cross, like this little cross center section. Then I'm going to roll out two smaller spheres on the side of this larger one. Make sure your two side spheres are equal in size. It doesn't have to be exact, but pretty close. I would say that's close enough. All right. Next, we're gonna roll out either between your hands or on the table a coil. Doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to merge a lot of things onto our slab. All right. My coil is a bit long, so I'm gonna trim it. Your coil should go slightly above this upper line that you drew. Okay. Now we're gonna take more extra clay and roll out two thinner coils to go on the side of our main coil. And again, make the two side coils roughly the same size. I would say that's good. So I'm gonna trim that. And then put this one on the other side. So we have 6 pieces here. We have a main sphere in the middle, 2 smaller ones on the side. We have a main coil in the middle and 2 smaller ones on the sides. All right, now you want to score and slip everything onto your slab. Maybe I should have made room for this one. All right, go. And we'll do the coils. And your center coil should go along that center line we drew in the beginning. Okay. Gently press it into your slab. Then I'm gonna add my last piece here. All right, so now we have our simplified basic shape for our nose. Now we need to start blending. We're actually going to use our hands a lot of the time. Feel free to switch out and use a wooden tool at any point. But I think this is a good one to start using our hands with. So just on the top, I'm going to merge my two coils into the main one in the center. Slowly, we are going to start forming the bridge of our nose. And I'm going to blend the sides of the coils into the slab by dragging the clay. So right now at this point, all we have done is the top. You just pick this up, move it to the side. All right, now we're gonna take our two side spheres and just pinch them a little bit more into a teardrop shape, because we don't have like perfect circle shapes on the sides of our nose. All I did was take my hand and just pinch it a little bit on the side and the bottom. All right, next you're gonna take some extra clay, make two little spheres, approximately that size in relation to the rest of your nose, and then you're just gonna pinch them into two little flat discs. So all I did was make two little spheres and then pinch them so they're now little flat discs. And you're gonna put them on the side here, your nose, and just drag the clay to get rid of those lines between the pieces and blend them on there. All right, next we're gonna roll out another coil, and we're kind of going to blend in the tip of our nose with the bridge of our nose with this coil. It should be the length of like the middle of your sphere to the middle of your coil that you made. It's approximately that thick. And I'm just gonna place it on top there, from the middle of my sphere to the middle of my coil that I placed here. And then with my hands or my wooden tool, if you prefer, I'm just gonna blend it in on the top, on the sides, and then into my sphere over here. So now we can start adding some volume into our nose. The next thing you're gonna wanna do, I still have some remaining lines that aren't quite connected. If you look closely here, we still have our lines separating our spheres and our coils. I want you to go ahead and drag the clay and blend those together now as well. Right. Feel free to do some smoothing out as well. All right. Now what we want to do is take two smaller coil pieces of clay. Roughly that size, and you're gonna place them right above the two smaller spheres that you've made into the side of your nose. Now that we've placed them here, I want you to blend it into the rest of your slab and also blend it into the side of the nose. What we're doing here is making that sort of ramp-like shape from the tip, the bridge of your nose, into the rest of your face. I'm gonna blend out my side coils a little bit more into my slab. Okay. Take some time to smooth things out with your hand. Maybe press down on the bridge of the nose and just drag your hand across and just do some shaping. What I want to do on the bottom here as well is to just start thinking about where I'm going to place my nostrils. So at this point with our nose, it sort of sticks out on the side like a triangle. And on the bottom here, we didn't quite shape it into the correct shape yet, but I just want to imply that we're going to place some nostrils here. So just in the middle of your sphere, just press down with your thumbs. I just place my thumbs here and gently press down. Nostrils are not perfect circles, so we're not going to carve out perfect circles and dig it out. They're more of this slanted teardrop shape, which we will get into. Right. Now you're going to take some extra clay and the very tip of our nose, we want to add a couple more pieces because the tip of our nose kind of has these two muscles that split down the middle. That's why some people, and it goes into our septum. That's why some people have a deviated septum, because it is two separate muscles on the tip of our nose. So I'm just rolling out two tiny coils. Let me try and zoom in here. And I'm gonna place them right next to each other on the tip of the nose. And again, I'm not really slipping and scoring because I'm going to smooth it out with my hands. I'm just gonna blend that into the rest of the nose here. Take some time to shape and smooth it out. Right. I do feel like the bridge of my nose is a little bit low. It kind of depends on what you have on your slab, but I'm just gonna take a little coil piece and add it in there just to fill in some space. So again, it's kind of a process of trial and error. Take away some clay if you feel like you have too much, and add some if you feel like you have too little. I'm just gonna smooth that on there. I'm gonna smooth out the bridge of my nose. Okay, and again, we still have a very rough shape. So what we wanna do now is, I think, like the two side spheres go out way too far when I look at the bottom of my nose. If you look at the bottom view of a nose on your chart, and I'm honestly just going to push in the sides of my nose and push the tip of my nose downwards a little bit. Again, everyone has very drastically different shaped noses, so it's kind of up to you on how big you want to make the tip of the nose. Maybe you want to add a bunch of clay to add a very bumpy bridge of the nose. Kind of up to you. Alright, I'm quite happy with that. So just so you can get a side view of what we're working with right now, we're still in a very rough shaped nose, but I did pinch in the sides of this a little bit more. All right, now we're gonna add some more clay to blend the nose in with the rest of the surrounding face. So I'm just gonna take 2 little thicker coils and I'm going to do the same thing we did when we were making our eyelids in the last video, and I'm just gonna pinch and press it so it's a flatter piece of clay. And you want these to be like roughly the same size. That's actually a bit too big. So let's see. And again, it depends on the size of your slab and the nose that you are making. I think I'm actually gonna cut this in half and just use half on each side. So you're gonna cut it in half and you're gonna place it on the upper half of the sides of the nose. So it kind of goes parallel with your 2 side spheres that we blended. And you can use your hands or your clay tool, and you're just going to drag the clay and blend it in with the rest of the slab. Notice I don't really have any harsh drawn in lines on my nose because you don't have drawn in lines on your face. It kind of is like 3D forms that imply where the lines are. Feel free to smooth out the bridge of your nose, smooth out the sides. And again, just for the sake of the video, I'm not spending quite as much time as I would smoothing things out, but feel free to pause and take a good chunk of time on your own. So when we pick it up, look at it from the side, we should see a clear bridge of the nose. Actually, I want to smooth out this side a little bit more. Okay, now what you want to do is sort of re-exaggerate the lines between the center tip of the nose and like these 2 side pieces. So I'm gonna, and you can use your wooden tool, your needle tool, but I'm just gonna take my hand and scrape away some of the clay. And then I'm gonna take my needle tool, oops, and sort of redraw and exaggerate the lines of the side of my nose. Just so the edges are clear and you can tell where my nose starts and stops. Right. Just gonna take my needle tool and smooth things out a little bit more. Alright, so now I think we're ready to start thinking about the top and bottom of our nose. So on the top here, my nose isn't really blended in with the slab. So I'm just going to drag my needle tool to sort of merge it in and get rid of that line separating our nose from the slab on the top. And I'm going to do the same thing. And on the bottom of our nose, I'm just going to blend in sort of that middle piece. I see a big gap here, so I'm going to try and fill that in with my needle tool. Alright, so the nostrils. What shape do they need to be? Well, they're very similar to a teardrop shape, but a bit diagonal. And what I mean by that, and a good way to set this up, is take your needle tool and just draw 2 parallel lines. So this middle here is going to be somebody's septum. You're going to draw another line going diagonal, almost like you're about to draw a triangle, but in reality, instead of a straight line down the bottom, we're just going to make it curved. So now you have 2 like approximate teardrop shapes. You know, you can round things out and shape accordingly, because a lot of people have different shaped nostrils as well. Right, and then either with the end of your needle tool, or if you have a more narrow clay tool, you're just gonna dig out a little bit of this clay. Since our nostrils are like holes or tunnels that go up into our nose. Okay. And I'm just gonna take some time to smooth things out and reshape it to my liking. If you notice some things on the bottom of your nose are a bit uneven, you can always add in bits of clay and merge it on, or take some away. It's all personal preference. I quite like blending with the needle tool because you can get really small details of blending done. All right, I think that's quite good. Oops. Maybe I need to blend a little bit more on the top here. All right. I think my nostril is a bit crooked. Oops. All right. This clay is still wet, so I don't think it's picking up that well on camera. But essentially, you just want like 2 teardrop shapes facing each other. Okay. Last thing I want to do is sort of exaggerate the 2 side pieces of our nose. I don't think they're standing out that much when you look at it from the top. So I'm going to take my clay tool and sort of re-carve out these circular shapes from the side pieces of the nose. If you feel like you don't need to do this step, or your side pieces from your nose stand out just fine, you don't have to go quite as dramatic as I am right now with removing some clay. But it's definitely up to you. I'm gonna scrape that off. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. I would say even though noses are part of it's like a much simpler shape than a lot of different parts of the face, it is tough because so many different shapes of the nose for different people exist. And not everyone has like a perfectly symmetrical nose either. So it is a lot of guessing and taking away and scraping off clay and adding some more. If you want to work off of a reference image, like look at a picture while you're sculpting to try and match it, go for it. Or if you want to sculpt your own nose or try and do the shape of a friend's nose, that's definitely fine as well. I'm not really doing anybody's nose specifically, just like a very basic general shape of what a nose could be. Right. I think once I scraped away the extra clay on these sides, it really emphasized my nose a lot better. I would say you would know your nose has been done correctly when You turn it to the side, and a general triangular shape is there. You look at it from the front, and you can see a distinguished flat strip that is the bridge of the nose that sort of ramps into the rest of the slab. When you can see the tip of the nose and two little round side pieces. And when you flip the nose this way, and you do not have two perfect circles for the nostrils, you sort of have two teardrops, and you sort of get this like almost Ghost from Pac-Man shape on the bottom. If you look at your nose from the side, and it is a bit difficult to see on camera, maybe with the dry one you'll see it a bit better. When you look at your nose from the side, you should be able to see a little bit of the nostril poking through when you look at it from a side view. So if you have all of these things, I would say you're ready to do some final smoothing out, reshaping to your personal preference. And as always, if you think you've finished all of the steps, trim the sides of your slabs to make straight lines, write your name on the back, and then go put it on the cart to dry. And that is all the steps for sculpting, at least the basic steps for sculpting a nose.